Elite once almost added SRVs the size of factories and even a city on tracks. So, where did they go? Well, Frontier is now expanding Elite in every direction. Colonization, player-built stations, a wave of new ships. The future really does feel wide open for Elite, perhaps more so than at any time in recent history. But are new SRVs on the horizon? Well, we don't know. Right now is the perfect moment to dig up those old forgotten designs and ask what might still be possible. The first SRV then arrived back in 2015 alongside the Horizons expansion. That was the first, the Scarab, the one that almost every commander has driven for years. 5 years later, Frontier gave us the Scorpion, a 2-seat combat rover, and so what do we have now? 2 vehicles in 10 years, and that's it. Would you believe Frontier once sketched many other SRVs, heavy industrial rigs, articulated haulers, and even an entire city on tracks? Clearly, the early design vision for Elite was far bigger than the game we play today. Or was it? But with Colonization on the roadmap and actively in action now, the game is changing at a foundational level. And you know me, I love to speculate. Right now might just be the best time ever to ask what could be next. And personally, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of brand new SRVs at some point. Whether Frontier actually go that way, we can't say, but it's firmly a possibility. So let's look at the SRVs they once discussed. All of these images come from Frontier's own digital art book, official concept art that you may never have seen. So this vehicle right here immediately grabbed my attention back when I first saw it when the digital art book came out. It's a truly massive vehicle, obviously far larger than the SRV Scarab that we have right now. It's not just the design that grabbed my attention here, but also the implications of what a vehicle of this size would mean for gameplay. After all, this looks industrial in scale, doesn't it? And I'm pretty sure that there's no way that this would fit into a smaller ship such as a Sidewinder or an Eagle, and maybe it would even struggle to fit inside a Cobra. And this got me thinking, it's perfectly possible that Frontier were thinking about vehicles that weren't delivered by ships, but were instead only accessible directly from surface ports. And indeed, surface ports were a big deal back in the early days of Horizons, and they've become a much bigger deal with the arrival of Colonization. You cannot now build your own surface ports after all. So just imagine that new surface port of yours needs a whole load of new resources, materials that can be found on the surface of planets, and you go out in this huge big rig, a mobile refinery maybe, and go and gather up that ore, delivering it back to the station en masse. This is the second concept image from that era from the digital art book, and this one is slightly different. In fact, it's significantly different. We've got a massive wide base here, and it's tracked. Now, it looks to me like it's designed to haul or perhaps process bulk resources planet-side, but also there's a number of other options that this could be as well. It could be a bulk cargo crawler. The wide stance here, the wide tracks, plus the high mass limit could ferry big objects from surface ports to outlying settlements where ships can't land. Infrastructure builder, perhaps especially now with Colonization, the flat deck here could double as a gantry platform for deployable modules, and just maybe the idea of Colonization here, specifically with surface ports, could make this plausible. Another theoretical option here would be a multi-crew explorable lab. Maybe going out and researching the surface of those planets, taking samples and detecting other resources. The third idea that Frontier worked up may have been more significant than absolutely everything else we've both discussed and seen. So let's look at the text here. They talked about alternate designs, working up concepts for alternative SRVs and other ground-based vehicles with their own character and specialist roles was a valuable exercise that informed the simple skeletal design of the basic Scarab. And here's where things get really interesting. Vehicles ranged from heavyweight industrial SRVs all the way up to colossal articulated vehicles and even an entire city on tracks. And that is the really big thing here. Now, this is a pretty big deal. It invokes all types of concepts and ideas, doesn't it? And after all, the idea of cities, moving cities, isn't completely unprecedented when it comes to sci-fi franchises. After all, we've got Mortal Engines, which is perhaps the most popular and obvious example of that. But how would this work when it comes to Elite Dangerous? Well, there's not too much in the way of cities when it comes to the game right now, although there are some pretty big ports that could perhaps be considered city-alike. Ones like this, for example. These are scattered all throughout the star system, various different locations. There's a few in the solar system and many others throughout other places in the bubble. Personally speaking though, I find it kind of hard to visualize or even imagine what type of purpose that mobile cities in this type of manner would actually serve. We've also got other outposts that were available come Odyssey with that expansion, and the same with them. I don't really see how these, being mobile or portable around the various different planet surfaces, would actually serve any benefit. To me, the idea of a mobile city on tracks would rather be a far larger and scaled up oil rig. Imagine something like that, moving around the planetary surface with the ability for ships to come and go as they please. Ultimately then, based on Frontier's very own words and their original concept art, it seems as though various different SRVs were considered for implementation into Elite Dangerous. The implication of SRVs of this nature also suggests a broader type of gameplay. So, what happened? Where are those SRVs, and why didn't they ultimately make it into the game? Well, unfortunately, there's no official word on all of this. We don't know because Frontier haven't specifically said, but we can infer what happened based on where the game is today. Ultimately, when Horizons released, we got the Scarab SRV. In Frontier's very own words, a simple skeletal design of the basic Scarab. So they acknowledge that this is a simple design and that it is skeletal in nature. In other words, it's, pared down, I would say. It's also pretty clear, based on the game loops that are available in Elite Dangerous today, that larger SRVs, larger vehicles of this industrial scale, would serve no particular purpose. They'd be there, but there's no gameplay loops for them to tie into. I think it's very reasonable to theorise then that based on scale and gameplay loops as well as the technology that's available, these SRVs simply weren't implemented. But that was then, this is now. And as I said in a recent video a year ago, people would have said that the idea of a player-led colonization, player-led station construction is something that would never happen in Elite Dangerous. Yet today, here we are, and that is very much a reality, and it's now a big part of Elite. In fact, it's fundamentally shifted how people interact with the game. We've got players out there now right on the edge of Barnard's Loop, colonizing star systems that were once so far away that people only went there on a flying visit. We've now got dozens, if not hundreds of starports, stations and service ports being constructed in these remote areas far away from the bubble, hundreds, if not thousands of light years away. And ultimately, over time, this is going to extend further across the galaxy. The point I'm trying to make here is that, 2025 marks a fundamental shift in how people are playing with Elite Dangerous as a game. And it's my real hope that Frontier continue following this path. And if they do, well, these old SRV designs, it seems there could be a purpose for them. It seems they would fit in perfectly with this new direction that the game is heading in. Speculation, of course, wishful thinking, hopeful ideas and all that lot. But ultimately, I feel this is just such a good opportunity, a wasted opportunity if not pursued. Let me know in the comments section how you'd like to see this unfold. Is this the sort of vehicles you'd like to see in the game? Is it the type of gameplay you'd like to see? It would require a few fundamental changes in how we interact with Elite, but like I say, I think there's precedent for that already here in the 2025. Now, we do know that Frontier are going to continue evolving the game. The next big update is coming in the summer. This is called Vanguards, and it's all about, essentially focusing on community and the player-driven interactions. To all intents and purposes, Frontier are again pushing the boat out, going in a direction that just a few years ago people would assume that Frontier would never go in. Essentially, creating guilds, fully functional guilds for the game. We also know that later in the year, towards the end of 2025, and who knows, maybe it will slip into early 2026, we'll have to see. But we do know that Frontier have got an unannounced, undisclosed gameplay feature that they will be adding at that time. Now, the last time they said something like that was back in early 2024. They said at the end of 24 they'll be adding something big, and that turned out to be a colonization. They're now repeating that phrasing again, so, the future is open and there's a huge amount of possibilities there. I, for one, am very excited to see where that's going. Do let me know what you think about this in the comments section. What do you want to see for the future of the game? And in terms of my video content, if you find this type of video interesting and you've enjoyed watching it, what would you like to see next? What other subjects regarding Elite would you like to see me discuss? Let me know in the comments section. Meanwhile, there's another video on the screen right here for you to watch. Do check that one out. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.